Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Aurum podcast, where we discuss everything regarding building winning teams. This Aurum podcast is hosted by Aurum Consultants, HR and Risk Advisory Consultancy. I'm your host. My name is Tony Kuria, and I'm so glad that you could join with us today. With us today, this morning, is our usual crew, as it were. We'll first begin with the CEO of Aurum Consultants, CHRP Zipporah Kuria. Welcome, Zippy.
Thank you, Anthony. Good morning, viewers. Good evening, good afternoon, from wherever you're watching us from. Glad to be here this morning and looking forward to this conversation.
Indeed, indeed. And in addition to Zippy, we have the HR specialist. We normally have her here to enable us deconstruct deep HR matters to make it simplified for our viewers and listeners. Martha Thuku, CHRP Martha Thuku. Welcome, Martha.
Thank you, Zippy, and good morning, viewers. I'm excited to be with you this morning again. I hope you are also excited, and let's discuss this interesting topic. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. As you are probably aware, we've been discussing this month issues regarding the middle level manager. We've been talking about mid-level manager, the mid-level management in any organization. And we've said that immediately a company starts growing, the owners or the founders realize that they've got to get intermediaries. They hire people, the company keeps growing. It reaches a point they need support to be able to manage operations, to be able to manage the people. And from there, you find you have a supervisor of some kind. And that supervisor is the one we are calling the mid level manager because they are the intermediary between the founder, the entrepreneur, the person making the major decisions, and the employees who are there. And ladies, you'll remember we said that immediately you start having go between the manager and the employees, sort of mid-level manager there. Then you have to have some processes, however simple, however simple they could be. And therefore, with this, then it means that mid-level person then becomes very important. And today, we want to look at how do you motivate mid-level managers? How do you motivate mid-level managers? Motivation is key for any employee, and even more so for mid-level managers who play a pivotal role in driving organization success. Today, we want to discuss what are the effective strategies and techniques to ignite motivation and inspire these mid-level employees to perform at their best. Yes, so this is a very interesting topic, especially I'm sure from you ladies being HRs. This I'm sure it's a very interesting conversation, motivating and all that. Today, Martha, I will start with you. I'm sure out there are business people, entrepreneurs who are looking at us and wondering, do you really need to motivate people to work? So they're wondering, see, I pay you a salary. Do I need to motivate you to work? Martha, help us. Begin the conversation by telling us how this works. About issues about do you really need to motivate people to work, especially mid-level management.
So, Zippy and Tony, thank you so much for this discussion. Tony, you have asked, do we really need to motivate employees?
Yes,
Um,
employees.
and I thank for that question because even as we engage with CEOs, especially in small and medium enterprises, they do not understand the reason behind motivating your employees.
Mm,
So if we look at the market today, there is really cutthroat competition. And if you see, like, since COVID, things have really changed
Mm,
to digital. Things have really changed. The kind of delivery
mm,
and customer service is different from how
mm,
things used to be. And so my thinking is every employer needs to think differently as far as their, you know, growth and even competitive advantage is concerned. And
mm,
one of the
mm,
key things I can say that we can use as employers is take the advantage of our employees, and that's why you need to motivate them, because
mm,
out there you have competition, and if you don't do something about motivating them, they will move to your competitors.
mm.
So why do you need to motivate your employees? Because they'll need to they'll move to your competitors.
Yeah.
And you don't want that, because some of them you have really invested on them.
Mm,
Some of them have grown with you in a business,
mm.
and you have grown to trust them.
Uh-huh.
So you can't ask yourself, should I motivate them? Yes, you want to keep them. You want them not to move from your organization. And
Mm-hmm.
remember, you own the vision, but then who are delivering? It's the staff
Mm-hmm.
who are delivering. So when a disgruntled staff is delivering for you, and also they have an opportunity to be maybe in charge of funds or something,
Mm-hmm.
they can steal from you.
Mm-hmm.
So when they feel disgruntled and they are giving more than they are getting, they would want to get as much as possible from you. So they can steal from you because you're not doing anything to them to make them feel like they belong to that organization. So
Mm.
the other reason I would say is because you need to give a sense of belonging to your
Mm-hmm.
staff. That's why you motivate them. You also
Mm-hmm.
need to show them that you care and you actually appreciate that they are delivering for you.
Yes.
So I will just contribute those few to start us off, and I would ask ZP to kind of add on. Thank you very much.
Okay. Zippy, Martha has brought up some very interesting concepts there about, and probably I'll speak this after you've spoken about competition for high value staff is one reason you motivate your mid level managers. And then giving them a sense of belonging and showing them a sense of care is also another reason why you motivate them. What's your take, Zippy, about that particular aspect of, why do we have to motivate people to work?
Thank you, Anthony, and thank you, Mother, for that contribution. This is a very interesting conversation because ideally, when you have engaged an employee, the expectation is that they will actually do their work because they are being paid anyway.
Mm,
So I end up interacted with a lot of employers who will ask, why do I really need to motivate people to do what I'm paying them to do?
mm,
And I think when we are looking at motivation, one of the things that we have to realize, employees spend probably 80% of their time at the workplace. So you will find actually a greater part of their life they spend at the workplace. Now,
mm,
what happens when they start working, at some point, things start getting more, routine, like they get static. You get to a situation where, it's a norm. There's nothing exciting here anymore. When you get a new job, and you'll agree with me, there's quite some excitement. You're excited about joining this organization, you're excited about this new opportunity, and you get into it, probably work, for a year too. And what happens with time, of course, I don't know whether it's lethargy, but you start getting fatigued of, probably this place. So as employers, I think it's important for us to start looking at it from a wider perspective. Yes, I'm paying this person to do the job, but what will keep that excitement going? What will keep that motivation going? What will keep them wanting to wake up every morning to come to work? I remember at some point, when I was employed, I got to a point where I was not excited to wake up every morning to go to work. That interest was no longer there. And perhaps maybe there needed to be something that needed to happen to rejuvenate me, to, to get me a little bit more excited and looking forward. Of course, it's important for employees to self-motivate as well, and have a purpose, have a reason why you want to do what you're doing. And I think that's one of the questions we ask when people, come for interviews. Why do you want to work for us? What
Mm.
motivating you to want to work for this organization? So I think for employees, they need, number one, to be self-motivated. But on the employer side, we need to do, things that would make the employees want to be there. The one thing I know that you will find employees who are motivated doing, they will go an extra mile. They will go
Mm.
beyond what probably you have just employed them to do. They will be more creative. They will be more innovative because they are
Mm.
looking at helping the organization, get to greater heights. So when there's nothing to make them want to give you, more input, the human nature is they will probably not give it to you. But when they are
Mm.
motivated and they can see, I'm excited to do this, they will give you ideas. One of the things I've realized as a leader is, as leaders, we don't have monopoly of ideas or strategy. You need your mid-level managers to actually, give their input. They are the ones on the ground. They are the ones dealing with the people on the ground. They are the ones who are experiencing the challenges. They are the ones facing the customer. So you need them to actually give you all this manner of all these ideas that you need to help your business grow. The other thing I think is important for you to look at how you motivate your employees, and motivation, comes with, in different aspects. Is it will give you better quality work, higher quality work. You don't want your teams to just do the bare minimum. You want them to do way over and above. And of course, sometimes we just need to. It's like a child. When you want a child to go way beyond what they are doing, you give them something. Sometimes you'll tell them, I'll reward you. Maybe I'll give you a sweet or I'll take you out. And you can see the excitement and how they will be able to do things better. Um, the other thing I would say is it will help um, your employees probably manage even their time better, give you better
Mm.
out within a shorter time. Because again, when I know what I'm looking forward to, when I know what I'm getting out of this, I think chances are I will be able to actually give it my best and be able to, work within a shorter time. So productivity will go up if the quality of work is good. And of course, what happens, your business will grow. So I think there's a lot of benefits in terms of just looking at your employees beyond just giving them a salary, but going that extra mile and motivating them.
And
I
Zippy,
think
I
I think
would
also
add,
we need to
I
be
would
motivated.
add,
Mother
sorry,
can tell us how we need to do this. Uh, because
sorry.
CEOs are also employees. Someone asked me, in fact, it was funny because this time we were dealing with policies, and you're talking about the sexual harassment policy. And this CEO asked me, what happens if it's a CEO who is being harassed? How do we handle this? So again, I think when we are looking at motivation, let's also look at the management. How we motivating even the top management, because they also get tired.
Mm. Yes, Martha.
Sorry, Zippy. Sorry for intercepting. What I wanted to add was, like, especially the service industry where there is goods that are going to customers, and your staff are the ones who are doing this customer service. What I can say is, when an employee is motivated, they are the ones talking to the customers.
Mm.
So overall, they have they give better customer service. They're the ones who are in touch with the customer. So what are they saying about you to your
Mm-hmm.
customers?
Customers, yes.
Uh, so what is said about your organization out there is very critical, and that's what would make you even spend to ensure that your staff are happy, so that they engage positively with with their customers, and then they come and give you feedback of what the customer is saying is their need. Then you're able to customize your products based on the customer
Mm.
needs. But
Mm.
when they are demotivated, it's more likely that they will know what is their customers need. They will work for you, and then they will start a side hustle and meet
Mm.
the need the customer is saying. And by the time your competitor actually becomes your employee.
Mm.
Thank you.
Mm.
And
Wow.
actually, Martha, just to add on to something else that has just come through my mind, when we are doing employee motivation surveys, there's one particular question we always ask, and this is to just give us a level, to just understand, how employees feel about the organization. How are you likely going to recommend this organization to any other person looking at working here, or your family members or your friends? And I think this is important because it helps you understand how engaged your people are. Because if your staff are not motivated, they will not be engaged, and they will be there, but they are not there. They are there one foot is out. Can you motivate everyone at the same time? Of course not. You will find there are times where, there are people who are motivated, there are others who are demotivated. And I think the trick here is to figure out how do we balance it out so that we are not losing people because they don't feel they belong, because it's something that they are lacking, and that we are easily able to give it to them. So motivating the mid-level managers, I think, is very critical, because remember, these are the same people you expect to motivate their people down there. So if they are not motivated, chances are they will not motivate the people on the ground. So again, becomes a trickle effect. So we need to learn, on different ways of looking at this, and how do we motivate? How do we encourage them? How do we make sure, they are connected to our strategies?
Okay, okay. Indeed, that is really we are for you, our viewers and listeners. You are out there, especially if you are running an SME, small and medium-sized enterprise. You are a corporate there. You have 100, 200 staff, or probably less, and you're thinking, guys, or even more. You might be having a proper corporate, and you are looking at listening and wondering, wow, these are some of the things why I need to motivate my staff. That first and foremost, what you've had, as I would summarize, is you've got to hire people who are self-motivated in the first place. People who are ready to work and learn. And then secondly, as Mother began it, for high value, as much as even right now there's a big unemployment crisis in our country and across the world. High value, high productive employees are fiercely fought for by employers. And therefore, if you have one within your organization, then you've got to motivate them enough to keep them. Otherwise, you'll lose them to the competition. And then talked about giving them a sense of belonging and care in order to motivate. And I like that aspect of belonging. And Zippy and even Martha, I don't want to belabor that point, but in my thinking as I was listening to that point, the sense of belonging means then you are sharing the vision of the company, and you're telling them their place in the vision, especially mid level managers. You're sharing them with a grand, high but achievable target or vision for the company, and you're showing them their place in it and what they need to do to be able to achieve them. I believe that is one way that you can be able to bring a sense of belonging and activate, care, and motivate this particular group of employees. And to your viewer and your listener, if you're out there and you're thinking, Tony, Zippy, Martha, I have a point to add. Right now, as we continue, we are live on YouTube, we are live on Facebook. You can send in your comments, send in your questions. You have a question, you have a comment, you have a kizungumkuti that you'd like us to try and sort it out. Like, I think it's Zippy who has brought it out. Or it's Martha, I think, who was saying about staff who become demotivated and start a side hustle competing with viewers. We have seen these kind of things happen again and again. And probably you're an entrepreneur there, you're thinking, yeah, that sounds like me. If that is your question, kindly send it forward. We will love to deconstruct it here. Now, as we continue, Zippy, the second question, I will throw it to you. What are the strategies for motivating staff, particularly mid-level managers? What are the strategies that top managers can use, just in brief, that can be used to motivate this cadre of staff?
Thank you, Anthony. I'm thinking about this, and I don't want this to kind of feel like an abstract kind of conversation where
Yeah.
yeah, this is what we are always talking about, giving people motivation and all that. But I think one of the things I was looking at It's a comment by this guy called Bob Nelson. And he said, an employee's motivation is a direct result of the sum of interactions with his or her manager. An employee's motivation is a direct result of the sum of interactions with his or her manager. So even as we talk about strategies, imagine your employee is probably going to be motivated looking at the whole picture, not just at one thing. Because today you can do very nice things. Tomorrow you are completely a total different manager will leave this person very demotivated. So one of the things that I think we carefully need to look at, and I've had this from many organizations because it's a big challenge, is the issue of communication. Now, communication can look like it's easy because I've said do this, or I've said this is how we do this. But I think it's one thing, to communicate and to communicate effectively and ensure your communication actually motivates the people you're talking to, the people you're dealing with. So we need to look at how do we communicate to the mid-level managers? Do we communicate in a way that, makes them feel they belong and they are part of this conversation? How do we talk? How do we engage them? Do we engage them as managers who we are actually having a lot of trust in? And I think when you increase or you improve the way you communicate to people, it will increase their motivation. It will have a positive impact on them as individuals. So communication, I think, is one of the ways we need to look at how do we communicate? How do we make sure our communication is clear, is simple, is passed in the most best way possible, so that the person you're communicating to understands. When there's miscommunication, I can tell you for sure it leads to a lot of disengagement and people feeling, we don't understand what's going on, we don't belong, all those kind of things. The other thing I think we probably need to look at when you're looking at strategies is, how do we create that positive work environment? And that's a very good strategy for your managers and even your staff at large motivated to come every day to work. When there's a positive work environment, the energy around, the environment is good energy, then people will want to be engaged. People will want to come to work. When the work environment is chaotic, when the work environment is hostile, then the truth is people will be discouraged, people will be demotivated. So we need to actually take keen interest and start looking at what is it that we need to actually do to create a positive work environment. How do we fix things when things are not working? Who is responsible? When things are not working, where do we go to? How do we handle all these issues? How do we make sure, people are feeling comfortable in the environment that they're working in? So I think different organizations will probably need to look at this and say, okay, we need to create a positive work environment. And of course, how we create a positive work environment at Aurum Consultants might not be the same at how another organization will create their own positive work environment. It will depend on the different strategies. So creating a positive work environment, I think, is a good strategy to just help us make sure we are having a motivated team. I think I will allow Mother probably to add on to that. I will come back as other thoughts come to me.
And thanks,
Brilliant.
ZP. I wanted to follow you on the quote you have said.
Yeah.
What is that quote you said?
Is by this guy called Rob. He's called just around I get
Okay, I've got you off
Bob
guard.
Nelson.
Bob
And
Nelson. Sorry. Yes,
yes, you know
and
about
it's
the
motivation. Sorry. Do you
communication
want me to quote it for
between
you?
you and the middle level manager, or the communication between the executive and the manager. So we, you can give a manager out there, it is looking good, but when you and the manager are interacting, what exactly is happening there? Why I said this, because in my many years of working, there is a time I came into this organization where there was a lot of change taking place, and I found myself just dealing with change. and the staff were happy, and the reviews I got from staff were good, and I kept on feeling that I'm doing good. But every time, like, I have a major breakthrough, I never used to understand what would happen between me and my manager. I don't know whether the manager didn't want to hear good things being spoken about me. I actually did not understand. And being the owner of the organization, now having a challenge with your staff, because when we are in a group, the manager will talk very good things about me. But when we are having a one-on-one session, yay, ni fire. I'm thinking, this is different from what we said. So
Mm.
that interaction, the daily
Mhm.
interaction you're having with your staff, is so important, because despite what you portray out there, the fact remains that staff is aggrieved.
Mhm.
And as much as they want to deliver, just that interaction and how you make them feel will make a big difference.
Mhm.
So one of the motivator is, even if you are giving feedback, it is so important to show to be very sensitive on the how you're giving that feedback. So
Mm.
if the feedback is negative, it's okay, because people fail and they are corrected and people learn from their mistake. But the how you deliver that feedback is
Mm.
so important, because you can leave that person uh, feeling degraded from the inside. You can actually kill that person from the inside. They could be your best employees and desiring to work, but those interactions are killing that person from inside. And suddenly you just see them kind of not like cold, yeah, just because of that cold atmosphere. You have just focused on that person
Mm.
during
Mm.
your one-on-one interactions. So it's the how you deliver any,
Mm.
whether positive or negative. It is
Mhm.
so important to motivate staff. The other
Mm.
thing I can say is, employees, they are human beings. They like clear goals and expectations, not being haphazard. As we have seen, like in the small and enterprises, you'll find the CEO has everything in their mind. And
Mm.
then they employ you and they expect you to deliver what they have in their mind.
Yeah.
And and when they don't deliver, you are thinking, this employee is not working with my values.
Mm.
There's a CEO I ask, what are those values? Does the employee know those values? Actually, does the employee know the objective of your organization? Oh, we are in
Mm.
such an industry. Someone should know this is what we employ them for. And I'm thinking, please write those things down, set
Mm.
clear goals of what you want done, and set the expectation, the standards of meeting those goals.
Mm.
So even if it's a shop, I came from a previous shop, and you gave
Mm.
me this job. I came from a previous shop. The way things are run in shop A is not how things are run in shop B. Please
Mm.
make me understand how you want things run in shop B. Because if you don't, then I'll run the way I used to run in shop A. And
Very
then we
true.
will have a challenge. And why are we having a challenge? I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, but you never train me how you want yours done. So please
Mm.
make sure there's clear goals, and there's expectations for delivering those goals. And one of the other thing I can say is the feedback. And I have talked about feedback. The how
Mm.
you give negative feedback, it's very important towards staff motivation.
Mm. Very
If
true.
you give feedback to kill someone's spirit, don't expect them to perform for you.
Mm.
So you will hear someone say, but I was giving feedback. This person doesn't even know how to take feedback. And I'm telling you, that's not true. It's the how you deliver that feedback that is a
Mm.
problem. It's not the feedback itself, because the
Mm.
feedback is important to be given, but the how you deliver it, it's very critical. Because even you, when you go back home, it's so important to have a small meeting with yourself and say, what I said, how else could I have done it? So that
Mm.
tomorrow you do better, so that you motivate your staff, because we are all learning. The other thing is opportunities for advancement. For human beings, they don't like what haziness, being
Mm.
hazy on their life. They want to know, how will I grow? Should I continue working with this organization? So what are
Sure.
the opportunities for advancement? And I will finish as I give Zippy more, is to encourage creativity and innovation.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to be the one man stop shop, that anything that is being done in the organization is coming from you. Let me tell you, you have a wealth of people in your organization. You have some who could be older, there are some who is in middle level, and there are some who are very young, like the Generation Z, Generation Y. Those people, that's a good mix that can bring you creativity, innovation based on where they are at. And your organization can really advance. Because for you, you are busy as a CEO, you are interacting in many other forums. These people are researching on what they do. And currently, what they do is what they do in your organization. What
Yes.
can they do better? And when they find something out there that they can bring in to make the organization better, it will work for your plans. Now, if you kill that and you just say, only the things that I implement, I want to bring, those are the only things that will be done, then you're killing your organization. Give them room. Give them room to innovate. Give them room to bring out their potential. Give them autonomy. Like, you don't have to keep breathing on their neck. Let them know that I have given you this assignment, I want results. So let them go and kill themselves looking for results. Let them fail. And then when they fail, then they are learning. I was so shocked to know that the guy who produced the bulbs that we use today, he tried 1,000 times. And at the 1,000th time, that's when he got it right. And instead of being discouraged of using all that time, he just wrote, at least I know 999 times of how not to do it.
Mm.
So we don't have all the answers, but when we throw ourselves out there, then with our failures, we get to know how not to do it, and then we also get to know how to do it. So let your staff just go out there and see how to improve your organization, and I'm telling you, it will be for your favor, and it will be for your increase and competitive advantage. Thank you. I'll end there and leave Zippy to add some more.
Thank you, Martha, for that. To some extent, a high level of employee motivation is derived from effective management practices. So, how we are managing our team members in totality, it helps us in terms of just helping them stay motivated. And we must treat people as individuals. We must empower them. We must, offer them, an effective reward system. We must, ensure their jobs are clear, like Mother, you've said. They understand expectations. We must create that environment that is flexible in terms of, how they work. You're not breathing on their neck, like Mother, you put it. And one of the things, again, we have to also look is, how do we empower these managers? Because if we don't empower managers, then what happens? They struggle in terms of their delivery. Because sometimes you can ask or promote someone, but if you don't empower them to be able to effectively do what they're supposed to be doing, then what happens? They don't end up being motivated. They actually end up being, demotivated. And when you're empowering them, it also means you need to actually have conversations with the people they're leading. I've seen situations where, an employee, you are in the same cadre, they are, promoted to a manager position. And what happens? The people they were working at the same level start to sabotage them because they are not probably happy about your promotion. So as an employer or as a leader, you also need to make sure you're empowering these new managers. You are helping them stepping into the new shoes, and you are also helping the other team members understand the new hierarchy. And I think that's what I needed to add in terms of just helping, making sure our managers are motivated. Of course, providing an effective reward system. And when you're looking at a reward system, you're not just looking at salary, you're looking at, the total reward system, like Mother, we often put it. You're looking at the different things that you need to do to make sure your people are, are rewarded and they are happy to work for you. Back to you, Anthony.
Let
Thank
me add Zippy
yes.
by saying that some of the CEOs we have met, they keep thinking motivation strategies involve money, and they don't have uh, budgets for that. And I can say that is a yes or and a no. So if you can afford, then you can go the finance way that money can do to motivate your employees. It's so encouraged. But if you can't, it's not necessarily that it has to be monetary. So as we have
Mm.
said, things like creativity and innovation is not monetary. Having a positive work environment and a positive culture, like we keep saying, culture kills strategy or eats strategy for breakfast. Having a good culture doesn't need money. It just needs you to, it's like Zippy has said, the way you manage your organization, the way you manage your staff, that's what is culture in your organization. Providing feedback and coaching is not monetary. So it's the small things, and you can tailor make yours, uh, looking at the needs of the organization and the capabilities as far as budgets are concerned. Tailor make yours, and but make sure you are motivating your employees. Feedback, regular feedback, whether positive or negative, is important. This person feels like you are actually recognizing what they are doing and you're helping them to become better. It is so important as a CEO. Like in my mind, what I say is, if I come in contact with you, I want to leave you a better person than I found you. That should be a motivation for every CEO, not to kill that person, but to make sure that they are better. Because also you remember you are reportable to God over these people God has given you. Thank you very much.
Indeed, indeed. Today, if you're out there like me, you're listening to these two industry experts deconstruct strategies for motivating staff. I'm sure, like me, you've probably taken notes and enjoy the conversation. And as it's been said, issues regarding motivation is demonstrating of trust, how you handle problems, either can motivate or demotivate your mid-level managers. A positive work environment is a big motivation. Integrity in interaction with your staff, especially on a one-on-one basis, beyond what you're demonstrating to them, praising them before everyone, but how you relate to them one on one is also a big aspect of motivation, and especially and also encouraging creativity and innovation, and especially with mid-level managers is very critical. To you, our viewers and listeners, as we've said, this is an interactive conversation, and we would love to have you continue to interact with us. In the meantime, next week we'll be closing this. Next Saturday we'll be closing this discussion on mid-level managers with a webinar. We'll be having a special guest who will be joining us, a CEO of a mid-sized, flourishing enterprise. Please be on the lookout for that. We'll be posting it on our website, on our social media pages. We'll be posting that, so you need to register. Make sure that you register to be able to hear about that. We'll have a long session of a 1 hour plus, where we will interact and discuss all these areas that we've talked about mid-level management. So be on the lookout for that. And also, from next going forward, we'll be having I would call it a webinar every end of the month. We'll be having a webinar every end of the month, like now in end of June. We'll be having a webinar end of July. We'll also be having a webinar discussing the various aspects. Where if you register, you can participate. It will be interactive. You can ask questions. You can, you can throw in comments, and you can query the high level, high quality guests that we'll be having coming in. So, Zippy and Martha, as we bring this to a close, we want to say that we appreciate all our viewers and listeners wherever they are, especially those who run businesses. I know today, if I were, as an entrepreneur myself, I was listening to some of the things that you ladies were saying, and I'm thinking, wow, Martha was talking about integrity, relating one on one with the staff. I remember one friend of mine, he's now an entrepreneur, but in times past, he used to work as a senior sales manager for one of these big paint manufacturers. And he was really meeting and surpassing his targets. Martha, you've made me remember that. So this friend of mine was meeting and surpassing his targets. And instead of the CEO appreciating him, you tell him, you've not done good enough. Yes, you've met the target, but I want more. There was no even a recognition, leave alone even a reward. So this happened for a number of years. So one day, this friend of mine just walked in and told him, I'm resigning. I've left. Here's my letter. I'm resigning with immediate effect. So the boss turned and was like, why are you leaving? Why are you leaving? Who will meet you as target? He was like, but you never told me that I'm meeting. You always told me I'm not doing good enough. This friend of mine was telling me they had a serious tussle. He was taken out for lunches, being begged not to rescind his resignation, which tells you, the CEO, the entrepreneur, the director, you need to learn how to talk to your staff. The way Mother said, one on one, motivating them, integrity in the way you speak. The way Zippy said, communication is key. You need to know how to communicate with your staff when they are doing well and when they are doing badly. In either way, especially your mid-level managers. So I thought to throw that bone for people to think about, especially our viewers, our listeners who out there are running businesses. You need to know how to communicate with your staff. Otherwise, when you're trying to beg them to remain, they're telling you, you never told me, I'm you good enough when I was still here. So those are some of the dangers that entrepreneurs go through if you don't know how to communicate. So, Zippy and Martha, thank you for taking your time to answer this very complex yet very exciting topic regarding motivating mid-level managers. And to you, our viewers and listeners, thank you for taking your time to be with us. Remember, you can get in touch with us via the contacts at the bottom of your screen. If you have any questions, if you need help in probably training, you've probably had today and you're thinking, Tommy and your team, you guys have given me very good ideas. How do I motivate my staff? So, how do I do it? Because it looks like I'm getting it wrong again and again. Get in touch with us via phone, via our website, our emails, our social media handles. Get in touch. We would love to come and partner with you and give you the strategies to do the same. So, ladies, have a nice weekend. Our viewers and listeners, have a nice weekend. Take care. See you next week when we have our webinar. God bless you.